What's going on? Here's a little term that I learned some time back. It's kind of got these little like truths, universal truths in it, as well as just it being true in this situation. Uh, it's like I didn't know if you know this, but crows have uh two different languages. They have a language that all crows speak, and then they got another specific language that's only for them and their immediate family and cousins. And it's kind of weird, but this is kind of like that, but not exactly. It's kind of animal internet, and it's like we're interconnected, like in with our environment and the people around us and the way we influence things. And you do have the like certain things within your control, okay, but there's a lot of things that you don't. You can influence this world in a positive manner, which is not to be too intrusive or too controlling and demanding. uh and then there's the other way, to rape and pillage, and it doesn't matter because I only live for 100 years. If you live a full lifespan, and the next guys have to suffer with they have to clean up the toxic waste and you know uh, uh, the blood stains. But it's kind of like there's this concept. It's called the 100th monkey syndrome, and it's basically these monkeys. There was monkeys on this one main island, and then there was these sub islands, and these monkeys on this one island like learn to like use a tool a certain way to gather food, and this other population that was not uh, was isolated from uh, the first population, independently of any of these others' influence, learned the identical like methodology to acquire this food source. I mean, that's just a kind of, I kind of rehashed that out. That ain't the exactly 100% the way the story goes, but that's basically it. So anyway, it's kind of like you look. It's like, I heard someone say, like, you don't want to just react to everything. You actually want to respond. Reacting is almost like it's your knee jerk reaction. But to respond is to take a moment and thoughtfully respond. The only way to thoughtfully respond is you got to listen in the first place. So it's kind of like, it's not like passive. It is kind of like it's it's responsive as opposed to reactive. So it's like it's the same thing but different. But basically, uh, like good vibes are contagious, and so are negative vibes. Like actually, negative vibes are like way easier to pass along than good vibes. Like they say, bad news travels fast. Uh, Things of that nature, and it's kind of true. So it's kind of like you gotta do a lot of counteracting such a mass and vast amount of negative, evil, life sucking, vampiristic, cannibalistic input coming into your head. It's like that stuff's contagious. So if you don't resist it, it basically is going to take you over. It's like you gotta kind of remember this. It's like if you look at like children, they're like clean slate. They don't know anything. They're just like a sponge. Whatever they see, it's like just they're gonna absorb that, and they're gonna, from their perspective, that's all they've ever known. It's kind of you got to do your best to not like show those kind of characteristics and like around you, and intervene for best you can where you can, and like literally kind of change the course of things. You can intervene a little bit. Like you can plant trees. You can plant an apple tree, and in 20 years, it'll be a full apple tree. Like literally, you can do that in your freaking life. You can do that. I mean, it might take a little bit of work, but or maybe you might have to spend some money, buy a shovel that you can use again. But I'm just saying, that's pretty easy right there. Uh, but there's little things you can do, and just and you can kind of it's like this positive energy, and it's contagious. It's like when you get people start getting outside the box, but look, they don't break away until they see someone else do it, because there's kind of monkey see, monkey do in this life, and that goes both ways, towards the good, towards the evil. The best way to teach people this is to not teach them, in all actuality, because look, no one wants to get talked down to, no one wants to get told how to live. You know what I'm saying? Freaking, they're gonna rebel. Something about human nature is gonna make them do the opposite anyway. And especially if you're telling them to do stuff that you do, just don't do it because you're not old enough, and or whatever. Because there was these kind of rules for me when I was young too. It's just like, you know, uh, no wonder we kind of rebelled in that, and did the same things they told us not to do in some cases. And you know, hey, in a lot of cases, society engineered it for us to make those bad decisions, so we would live through life wounded and thereby unconfident, easier to control. Willie Lynch-ism is what it's called. It's like, you know, there's a part where in Jeremiah, he's like, you know, he builds things up and he tears them down. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't tear down things without building up something. Like, look, in a way, it's like you don't tear it down no more than, you know, you don't dismantle no more than that needs to be replaced. You know, so it's like edification. That's kind of being like iron sharpens iron, and men sharpen men. That's what the scriptures say. So it's like good vibes are freaking contagious, and the best way that you show people like how to do all that stuff is just be a good example, and don't preach too much. Don't overly preach. You know, look, if you want to speak about good things, wise things, true things, that's what you should do. But don't make it like just just be like you're reciting it to yourself because you like it. But look, it might it might sink in. It's like seeds, you know, when you throw them on the ground, they don't turn right into plants in a week. Sometimes it may take years, but look, it might pop up later and you'll be like, wow, that's a pretty plant. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, look, you can't take no credit for that yourself, because it's like the scripture says, God gives the increase. And you know, hey, we have an opportunity to water a plant, but ultimately he decides what, you know. But and at the same time, we also can decide too, in a way, like the scripture says, hey, because of certain people's unbelief, many miracles were not done in certain places. So it's basically, you gotta like remember sometimes that uh, you're not a robot. You don't have to. You don't. I mean, at any time you can just say pause, time out, and change up everything for a minute, and it's like you're probably still, life is gonna go on as it should, but it's like we get trapped in the matrix where it's like we believe in this kind of construct. You know, your freaking house, your identity, your freaking social standings with the community. You know, like so that's real socialite type people. You know what I'm saying? Like especially them type of people. It's like it keeps you trapped in this freaking matrix. But like the 100 monkey syndrome is like, even though I've been seeing this phenomenon, even though independent of people having any kind of relationship, they've been observing the same stuff, and then they're able to operate in a new mode of thinking. And it's like, and you can see it popping up around in different pockets, and it's actually a refreshing kind of a feeling. You know what I'm saying? When you see people outside the box, really like, hey, ain't nobody perfect. No one lives enough lifetimes to know all this information anyway. So how could you expect anyone to, just be, don't idolize people, basically. So it's like, but basically, a lot of people out there are really presenting like awesome stuff, and it's like it's refreshing because that negative energy that's coming at us, all the negative vibes from the news and the fear and the terrorist propaganda and stuff like that's coming at us. It's like, look, you need those refreshing kind of good vibes. It's contagious. So when you step your step your efforts up, and you put forth a renewed vigor, it inspires others to keep on with a good cheer. You know what I'm saying? Like keeping their morale up. Because no, hey, this is really crazy out here. Like everything, and like just like the 100 monkey syndrome, it's working for the good. It's also the evil. It's like it's everywhere you look now. So it's like, but hey, you gotta learn to deal with it and cope with it and realize, look, it's gonna be what it's gonna be no matter what. So if you sit there and worry about it, become obsessed about controlling it, you're actually becoming a witch by wanting to control things so bad. And it's like it's an idol to you to be in control of every single aspect of everything at all time. It's like, look, that will keep you trapped inside the matrix. It's like basically the only way to escape this place sometimes is to take a moment to smell the roses. In a way, it's like you see, you can see God's handiwork in everything out here. You know what I mean? Including in the scriptures. But it's in operation everywhere. And sometimes you gotta tune all this out, all of it, and tune into that. It's like the animal internet. It's like the hundredth monkey syndrome plane, where it's like it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool phenomenon. Uh, it's like some said that it was like a consciousness shift or something, or like in the Renaissance period, because of the printer and the Bible, even in a secular sense, it gave more people a chance to try to read something. So it made everyone's game kind of step up. You know what I mean? And it's helpful for all of our growth if everyone's metal is strong. They're the best person that they were meant to be. It helps you be the best person you were meant to be ultimately. And you're not in a competition at all. It's more like, look, we're just here at the same time, and we're just passing through anyway. So it's like, look, I'm not gonna get too wrapped up in this that I'm gonna start looking at you like on that cartoon when two dudes are on the island and the dude looks at the other like a chicken bone. And it's like, here's the thing about this freaking all that's overpopulated. Look, every time I drive by an open field and I see the vast expanse with no houses or dwellings there, or by the ocean, freaking look, or the lakes, and there's no one out there, but there could be boats out there with people living on it. It's just like, look, the massa is afraid because there's too many slaves on the plantation now. So he's got to convince people that it's overpopulated because they can't control everything. Like the witch is losing all its power, you know. So it's like it's scrambling to keep up the appearances.